Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say, bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada, you know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful March the 28th, 2019. And Big C will be calling in shortly. What a great day here in Northern California. In fact, great day, opening day, Major League Baseball all over the country. Everybody's playing today. A lot of good things happening from Northern California. A little bit of rain, but the Oakland A's and the LA Angels were able to play anyway down in Chavez Ravine. You had the Dodgers jumping all over the Diamondbacks. And then the game down in San Diego, the Giants were shut out by the Padres. And I know there's a lot of talk about what's going on with Harper and Philly, and not to get the hit of Machado. They didn't look too good. So what, there's a commercial called What Can Brown Do For You? What can $730 million combined do for you? These guys didn't have a good showing. Maybe they were a little bit nervous. But when you're making that kind of money, you're not supposed to be nervous. I know it's all fair and love and war. A lot of things happening in the world of March Madness as well. Getting ready for some good tournament games. Trying to trim it down from 16 to 8. Going over the weekend. And a lot of good boys from the West Coast need some representation from Gonzaga. I know the game against Florida State, that's a tough matchup for anybody to handle, but we're all looking forward to it in the sports universe. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So much going on in the sports universe. I love baseball. I love opening day. But outside of opening day baseball, I want to pay homage to a commercial that I saw that I think every young boy and girl too can identify with. I know when I was a young boy, my brothers and I, we got into some trouble. There's a commercial on TV, and it was during the Oakland A's broadcast where they were playing the Anaheim Angels, or the LA Angels. Now, they had two little boys, maybe 5, 6-year-old kids, and they were in the bathtub, and they had taken their T-shirts and they had mud all over themselves. They were muddied up like they were in a mud wrestling contest. And so the father comes in. Now, they didn't show the father, but the father said, now, whose idea was this? Now, one of the little boys covered his eyes, and then his brother looked at him and pointed out that it was his brother's idea. But I thought if you've ever been a young kid, oftentimes there's a lot of mischievousness when people do things they shouldn't do. If you have parents, of course, parents will tell their kids when you have on your best clothing, you're not supposed to go out and get dirty. But these young boys in this commercial, we'll have Big C calling in shortly, for baseball season, you're supposed to slide. And if it's dirty outside, you slide anyway. If you're playing a game in the rain, you slide. It doesn't matter. But these two young boys, they were in their bathtub, and they were all muddy. Now, if you're going to be muddy, most parents say go outside and play. Big C, these kids were muddy in the bathtub. The dad walks in and said, whose idea was this? One guy pointed at his brother, and the other brother put his head down. Big C, your thoughts?
When you got kids always making a mess. And I imagine I did that too when I was a child. But, as you get older, you forget the bad things you did as a child.
Yeah.
You walk in, there's mud everywhere, and your parents looking at you, the floor is wet.
Yep.
And it's like, what happened? And the first thing that comes out of a kid's mouth is, I don't know.
I don't know, yep.
It's always been that theory that kids are brain damaged, until they get to a certain age.
Yeah, I think that's funny. And again, I know it's baseball is about being happy and being outdoors. It's a slower paced game. It's not like football, and it's not like basketball, of course. It's a game that just kind of takes you back to days. But I want to know, for me, I'll fess up to. I know when I was a young boy and my mother went out and bought my brothers and I some brand new shoes. They were Hush Puppies. We were so proud of those shoes, and she worked so hard to get them. It was for opening day of school, not for baseball. But my brothers and I, we went across the street. There was a pastor who lived across the street, but he had a kind of a trench in front of his house where the flower bed was. We found all the water and we went mudding through those waters, Big C. We didn't lay down in the water, but our shoes were soaking mud. They were all muddied up. By the time we got home, my mother wanted to know what the world happened to your shoes. My brothers and I, we all looked at each other and said it was his idea, Big C. That make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, it's amazing how kids find water holes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like an innate trait.
Yeah.
You can have a dry street.
Yeah.
And every kid walking down the street will find water to jump into. It's like when it rains, you go find the water puddles to jump into because for a kid, it's exciting.
Yeah.
But you tell a kid to go take a bath and it's like, what? You want me to wash off?
That's
but
funny.
you'll find every mud puddle to get in as a child. And you got to think about it, Charlton.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, they didn't even have toys like the slip and slides and things like that they put out on the lawn.
Right.
And they wet themselves and the kids would slide across them.
Yeah.
We would find wet grass. And by the time that this grass was done with us, Charlton, we had nothing but mud out there. And the biggest part, it wasn't about you being dirty.
Right.
It was that you messed up mom's lawn. And dad was going to come home and talk to you about it in a very stern way.
Well, I don't know how you Southern parents got down, Big C, but out here they got the when they say talking to, no, they didn't talk. We got the switch. We had to go find the switch. In fact, my grandmother, she had these weeping willow trees, and she would always make us go find the switch so that she could, give us that corporal punishment that people get in trouble for nowadays, Big C. What did you guys do down south when you good old boys got in trouble, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, that was that stern talking from Dad. You got the switch, Charlton.
Oh, yeah?
But the thing about it, you had to go out there and get a switch that wouldn't break. And you talk about the mental abuse that kids took back in those days. You had to go get a switch to get your butt whipped with. But you think about that, Charlton.
Yeah.
You cherish those butt whippings as you got older because your dad or your mother disciplined you.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to worry about the police disciplining you, Charlton.
Yep.
Because you knew the right and wrong paths of life to take at that point because your parents disciplined you with structure, not abuse.
Yep.
It was structure. Because if you did something wrong, they wanted to correct that so that you would not create that behavior again, Charlton. And I cherish my parents every day for how they taught me not to do the things wrong in life, Charlton. And I took many a butt whippings. Back then, Charlton, you could even get your butt whipped in school. They signed a permission slip for the principal when you got out of line to get whipped in school.
Yeah.
And I think that leads today, Charlton, to a lack of discipline from parents and children out there in the streets, Charlton, because they don't know to have consequences for their actions.
Yeah.
But the consequences that they get now are often life-threatening, Charlton, when you look at these situations.
Yeah, you brought me back to mine, too. I remember getting my last spanking. I think I was in the 3rd grade, and then they outlawed that, and ironically, they outlawed corporal punishment in the schools when they realized they can make more money in prison than by having people get free labor in prison than creating jobs for people. And I know that happened right around the 70s in my neck of the world, Big C. But it's all good and love and warm. I want to ask you, opening day, Major League Baseball. I know everybody's out, swinging the bats from coast to coast. I think when we look at what baseball is, when they have the bunting out there and they have the stadiums that are full, people are taking time off working from school, talking about kids getting in trouble. I think a lot of parents let their kids out of school at least this day to go out and see. But I want to ask you, based on what you've seen, what's the best environment that you've seen so far when you look at opening day Major League Baseball? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Yankee Stadium is always the iconic view when you see Major League Baseball's opening day.
Yeah.
To see the pinstripes, Charlton, coming to bat, Charlton, and the glory from the fans in the hollow grounds of Yankee Stadium. I mean, it exudes baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, to have it start on the East Coast and to have that midday crowd, Charlton, it would be lovely to see those crowds carry throughout the season.
Yeah.
Baseball doesn't have the gravity, Charlton, that basketball and football has because there's so many games that are being played. And, a month from now, Charlton, you'll see a lot of these stadiums half full or less. But Yankee Stadium, Charlton, has a crowd that is always there.
Yeah.
You're talking about serious, knowledgeable people about baseball, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's there in Yankee Stadium. And you can't slight this crowd, Charlton. We'll go out to some of these stadiums, Charlton, where the teams won't be competitive in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And you can count the people in the stadium on one hand sometimes.
Yeah.
But Yankee Stadium, you always appreciate the games are there. Mariano Rivera came out through the opening pitch, Charlton, for the game, and threw a strike.
Yeah.
Looked like he could still suit up in the bullpen for the Yankees.
Yeah.
But, it's just the appreciation of the opening day of Major League Baseball across this great nation, Charlton.
Yep.
How fans appreciate it, how it's always been a pastime that everybody in the stadiums today, Charlton, generally played some form of baseball in their youth.
Yeah, that's true. I recall I played Little League Baseball growing up, and I just seen how baseball has evolved from little to young men that are playing the game, and then seeing young kids out in the stands. It makes me go back to when I was a little boy, and I think baseball's done a good job of that. However, worldwide, when you look at the most popular athletes in the world of sports, baseball, I think it was Bryce Harper. He was in the 90s position, like between 90 and 99, depending on what survey. But it's a sport that I think has lost some of its luster, and I say it's lost some of its luster, Big C, because of what you just mentioned. If you watch football's only played. Well, I can't say only played on the weekends, but mostly Sunday, and they'll have the Monday night game. But when it's played on a Sunday, and most kickoffs are right around noontime. For the early games on the East Coast and West Coast. So being on the weekend, people don't have to skip work to go see a game. I think baseball, and I know it's not going to be possible, because especially if you think about what I'm going to say, if baseball were to start their games maybe 6 o'clock for opening day, a lot of people could get off work, or at least close to it, at 6 o'clock. Would that make more sense to make it more fan-friendly throughout the year, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, for opening day, Charlton, people call in sick. I mean, companies know across America, depending on where you are, that you're not going to have certain people show up for opening day to work. But, I always thought that baseball should continuously, Charlton, play 3-game series, and they're all on the weekend.
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday series, Charlton.
Yeah.
I think if baseball looked at that experiment, Charlton, putting together 3-game series, and it would get a lot more fanfare, Charlton, because now you could base yourself on the weekend. I mean, even if you put a 5-game series together in baseball, Charlton, where you play on Friday night, then you have Saturday doubleheader, Sunday doubleheader, throughout the early part of the season, up until football starts, Charlton, then you reduce that down and go throughout the week. But I think baseball would be better served attendance-wise, Charlton, if they made some adjustments to the way that they play the game and put more double hitters, Charlton, early in the season on Saturday and Sunday. When the NFL is not a competitive sport, Charlton, they don't have to back off really until September when college football and the NFL kicks off full time. But I think that would bring a lot more fanfare back into major leagues, because when you got games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights, Charlton, and sometimes even during the day, you're not going to get the attendance anymore because baseball games are so long. But if you hone it down, once the seasons open up, Charlton, go through this first week, then you start bunching games in on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Charlton. You'll see the attendance grow in baseball expeditiously.
Because baseball, what it doesn't do, it doesn't give you a chance to miss anything. You can go every single day, and you see games that don't have a lot of meaning. And they don't have a lot of meaning because you're going to get another one the next day, and then the next day. And if you're a home team, if you're here in the Bay Area, you have the A's, and then you have the Giants. If one team's out of town, the Giants are in San Diego today, and the A's are in Oakland against the Angels. So you don't really get a chance to miss anything. I think where football hits it off is you get a chance to miss something. I know the games are different. Even in basketball. Basketball rarely has back-to-back games. They rarely do. And when they do, they sometimes don't have the same success because players have a hard time getting up again. I want to bring your thoughts to $750 million. I'm not talking about the lottery that was won in Wisconsin last night, Big C. I know you were doing some running up in the Midwest. But opening day of baseball, the top 3 money-making free agents. You think about the Phillies, and you have Bryce Harper. And then it was a 10-4 win over the Braves. Harper went 0 for 3. I thought it was a typo when I looked it up. He was 0 for 3 with 1 walk. Now, the media pundits were so nice to him. They said, Harper, how did it feel? You got walked, and then your batter behind you hit a home run. Did you feel like you were contributing? And he's going, yes, it's always nice to set my teammates up. You're not being paid $330 million to set your teammates up. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, you're going to be kind to him even when he struggles.
Yeah.
I mean, I draw that in comparison to how the media is continuously beating up LeBron James.
Yeah.
LeBron James can go out and get a triple-double. The Lakers lose, and they blame LeBron for the loss because he's not including his teammates. Even though he had 12 assists, Charlton, 29 points, 11 rebounds, he didn't include his teammates enough. So because he got them shots, Charlton, and other shots that they missed, and his assists probably would have doubled.
Yeah.
But Bryce Harper, here it is. You're striking out, you're grounding out, and you're fortunate enough you got to walk, so you did get on base one time.
Yeah.
And you come in, as the media said, you're setting up your teammate. So this guy has been hitting behind you all game long, Charlton.
Yeah.
Just so happened the one time you walk, he hits a home run.
Yeah.
So what happened on the other 3 outs, Charlton?
Did you set him
up? Are those also?
Yeah. And again, everybody deserves whatever money. If the owner's dumb enough to give it to you, but his performance is what it was when Washington didn't fight to keep him. I mean, they offered him $300 million. That was dumb when you look at what you get. This is a guy that batted about $185 around the All-Star break. And I think what happened with Philadelphia is they went back and watched the home run derby when his dad was pitching to him, and they said, "My goodness, we're getting this guy for $330 million." Do they know that was the All-Star? That was the All-Star game, and the pitches were telegraphed. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, when you're throwing it up there about 60, 64 miles an hour, I might look up and hit one out of the park, Charlton. But, you know, the thing about Bryce Harper is that baseball is so hungry to have a superstar, the face of the game, that is white.
Yeah.
That is what they're striving for right now, Charlton. That's the reason why Bryce Harper got the money that he got.
Yeah.
Even though Mike Trout is a much better player and got more money than Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
On the East Coast, baseball wants a white superstar.
Yeah.
And ironically, the superstar on the East Coast, Charlton, you have two of them.
Yeah.
You have Mookie Betts and you have Aaron Judge. Those are the faces of baseball, Charlton, on the East Coast.
I agree.
As much as the media doesn't want to recognize that, they're two minority players, Charlton, who look African-American for some reason.
Yeah.
You know, so Aaron Judge has much more media draw and appeal from the fans than what Bryce Harper does. He plays in a larger market with the Yankees.
Yep.
Matter of fact, he had 2 hits today, Charlton.
Oh, yeah?
So just think about how the media would have eaten up Bryce Harper if he had did what Aaron Judge had done today, Charlton.
Yeah, so that means the spread is 5. If a guy's 0 for 3 and the guy gets 2 hits, that spread is 5. So he had a spread of 5, but he's not making near as much money. But congratulations, Bryce Harper. None of those checks bounced as much as those pitches were being bounced on the home run All-Star Derby game. Now, I want to swing it down to the West Coast. So I'm not going to start at Chavez Ravine. I'm going to go to it's bizarre because when you go to the West Coast, you think we're going out to L.A., but I'm going to go a little bit further south to San Diego, Petco Park, and some of the Giants broadcasters, Krupp and Kuip, they were lamenting at how beautiful that park is now because there's been so much money infused into downtown San Diego around Petco Park, Big C. That environment is beautiful. And obviously, they get the win over the Giants, their rivals. The Padres 2, the Giants nothing. Manny Machado, he also went 0 for 3. Now, I was asking you this question. I know you can't judge everything by the first game, but I said, Big C, I think they overpaid. Machado, I still remember him when he played Chavez Ravine. He was striking out on one knee against the Boston Red Sox in the World Series. Now, 0 for 3, when you're nervous, does he even have a leverage to be nervous with that kind of money, Big C? He was not a tough out at all, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he struck out twice in that contest, but, you know, how can someone be nervous? As professional athletes, Charlton, that's what you do as a job. Yeah. I mean, to say that somebody's nervous in an opening game, Charlton, of the season, you know, I've never heard of that before. I mean, even as a former athlete myself, I don't really recall being nervous until I hit somebody. Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm always, you know, you geeked up, as they would say in those days.
Right.
But as soon as I made contact, all that stuff was straight. You know, your breathing calmed down and all of that.
Yeah.
But for a baseball player, Charlton, you've had spring training.
Yeah.
You've played 36 games of spring training. So how can you be nervous? You walk into Petco Park, You got $300 million sitting in the bank, guaranteed money. What are you nervous about? What your next big expenditure going to be?
And trying not to get hit by a curveball from Madison Bumgarner. But we know baseball is a long season, and there's a lot of good matchups. I'm interested in seeing how it turns out up in Seattle with the World Series champion Boston Red Sox. Isn't it something with the way they structure the schedules? You win the World Series, not only do you have to open up on the road, you got to go all the way to the Pacific Ocean to play. I don't think that's fair for a team that won the World Series. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, schedules always come out after the World Series is over. And you think that they would have opened up at home to give the Red Sox an opportunity to hang that World Series banner, Charlton, in Fenway Park, game one of the season.
Yeah.
But they didn't, so they got to go out to the West Coast and play a series, Charlton, before they can even come home before the home crowd.
Yeah.
But when you look at the disparity in that, Charlton, Rob Manfred needed to really look at that, where he said, hey, why aren't we opening up with the Red Sox? And actually the Red Sox, Charlton, should have been a night game in Chicago, in Boston tonight, Charlton, so everyone would have an opportunity nationwide to see them play.
I agree very much so. Because they have the best fans in Boston, I think. I mean, everybody can say New York, they can say Houston, L.A., Chicago. But there's something about Fenway Park that really brings out the best in the baseball fanatics. Maybe because it's an old and rustic park where everybody's trying to go new, like Petco is new in San Diego. But you look at Fenway, it's an old rustic place, but it has the history. It still has the stench that you can smell from players that played way back in the day. Obviously, Dodgers jumping all over the Diamondbacks, Athletics, with a good showing up against the Angels. The Giants they're always, I think, Bochy has bought himself some leverage because they've won, 3 World Series championships in the last 10 years. But, that gets old when you're not making the playoffs, Big C. The Cubs, the big win over the Rangers down in Texas. It's always good when Chicago gets off to a good start. But do you think they'll challenge this year? It seems like they're always in it. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, there's people calling for Joe Madden's head here in Chicago, yet he just won the World Series 2 short seasons ago.
Yeah.
But, people are, he's 3 years removed from a World Series title, and people are talking about replacing him as manager of the Cubs.
Yeah.
Look around the major leagues and see how many managers have won a World Series in the last 5 years, Charlton, and no one's talking about their job being gone.
No, they're not talking about that at all. You have the Royals in their game at home versus the White Sox. Good job for Kansas City. Love that look of that stadium right there in the same parking lot as where the Kansas City Chiefs play. And then you look at Boston, traveling across to the West Coast against the Mariners. And we don't want to mention the scores because people can tune in and see those. Yankees, with a big win over the Orioles. The Mets at the Nationals. Now, the Nationals have a new ballpark, and sometimes, Big C, they'll say you need a big name to put butts in the seat. But they had a big name in Harper, and now Harper's not there anymore. And I know they had a tough game against the Mets, but they were no better off with Harper. So I think they won this derby of spending spree versus the Phillies, at least based on that performance today by Harper. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the season's young and the season's early. I mean, they have some great arms in the Nationals clubhouse, Charlton.
Yeah.
And it's about, run by committee is what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to manufacture runs this year, Charlton. They're not going to go out there and try to be a long ball team. It's trying to get the guys on. That's what you do, and advance them, either through a steal or bunting them over, Charlton.
Yep.
But they're going to have to manufacture runs in Washington. And this is a team, Charlton, that's capable of getting a wild card berth if they play their cards right.
Yeah, if they play their cards right, especially with POTUS in Washington, D.C., anything's possible if he was into baseball having the home team win, Big C. The Brewers and the Cardinals, I don't like the Brewers stadium. I know it's new. I know it's beautiful. But they have that, that rival with the Cardinals. There's a great environment when you have an open door stadium, I think. That's just my own opinion. And when you have baseball and the Brewers at home, they got to win over the Cardinals today. But it's still missing something because they're not willing to play outside. I don't think the weather's any more inclement in Milwaukee than it is in Chicago, where the Cubs and the White Sox play outside. Do you think that being enclosed in glass, like they're in a museum, not a ballpark, your thought? Do you think that hurts some of your thoughts?
Well, it is an open roof stadium, Charlton. The stadium will retract and let the sun in. So, the thing about being up there in the Midwest, Charlton, is that you have so many inclement days. I mean, all of a sudden it starts raining or it's raining pregame, Charlton, so they keep the roof closed to have the pristine condition for the players.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, when you look at that, it's for the health and also the comfort of the fans, Charlton. When you think about that, you don't want baseball players running around on a slick turf when they could have kept it dry. And, it really helped out the Brewers today, Charlton, because they were able to win, today with, King going over the fence, Charlton, and snagging the ball to save a game-time home run at the top of the ninth.
Yeah, they got a good thing going. I'm still more of an outdoor guy, maybe because I'm on the West Coast where it's always sunny, except for sprinkles of rain every now and then. The Phillies, we talked about their win over the Braves. The Tigers with the win over the Blue Jays up in Toronto. And I know that Canada is a great city. It'd be nice to see another baseball team up in Canada. Even if they brought Montreal to play had a team play in Montreal just for old time's sakes, that would be a great thing. That's my feeling. Astros against the Tampa Bay Rays. And Houston, in my opinion, most likely will end up at least in the championship game. Don't know if they'll get to the World Series. But in the American League, it's going to be them, and it looks like it's going to be maybe Boston again, those two big. See your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, two powerhouse organizations. The last two World Series champion teams, Charlton, came from the American League, and those teams battled last year for the ALCS title, Charlton.
Yep.
And they seem to be reloaded, Charlton. They have most of the players intact from last season. So as long as they can stay healthy, Charlton, you got two teams that potentially can win 100 games between Boston and Houston.
Yeah.
And don't take New York out of the race, Charlton. They got off to a hot start today.
Yeah, a lot of people favor the Yankees too. That's a great time. Everybody can hold their chest out higher than the game, game number one. But it's just a matter of how you progress through the season. The Twins, with a win over the Indians, and then you have the Rockies over the Marlins. I want to get your thoughts on Colorado Rockies. They beat the Marlins. Don't want to give out scores. But Nolan Arenado goes 1 for 3. Now, everybody has their opinion. You're not going to get the best baseball in the first week. You're just not. Guys still got to get warmed up, even though they've had spring training. But give me your thoughts on the great Nolan, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, he was only big money player today thus far to get a hit.
Yeah.
He had the third highest paid contract during the offseason, a $260 million extension from the Rockies. But he at least went out and went 1 for 3, Charlton, and had a walk in that game for Colorado. So he is getting his money's worth. I mean, as a baseball player, Charlton, if you go 1 for 3 in every game and you're batting .333 on the season, that's superstar numbers.
Yeah, it is superstar numbers. So at least he got the chance to earn his money, Big C. I know everybody has their own opinion about baseball, but I do like your opinion about have some double headers and at least on weekends and try to get the games between Friday and Sunday. I think if you those other days, people are working, and when you have games on the West Coast that are 1 o'clock starts, same thing at East Coast New York. I think they start at 10 o'clock this morning. You got to have people skip work. Well, if you skip too many jobs, you can't have enough money to go to the games. I would hope that they would re-examine that. I mean, they've tried other things, Big C. Do you think we're just talking, or is that something that the commissioner would consider? They're considering everything else, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, what they'll say is that the baseball gods and the history of the game, this is how it's played. And I don't know how you can say about baseball players that would be too much of a workload to play 4 or 5 games each weekend, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because what are they doing? I mean, baseball is an individual sport, Charlton. It's called a team sport.
Yeah.
You have 2 guys working all the time, Charlton, during an inning.
Yeah.
That's the pitcher and the catcher. And everybody has, Charlton, 9 to 10 pitchers on their roster.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to be short on arms, Charlton, when it comes to that. You got outfielders, depending on who's pitching, sometimes don't move, Charlton, other than going back to the dugout or coming back to the outfield. When you say that it's too much workload on baseball players, Charlton, I beg to differ. Have a baseball player play a basketball game, Charlton, running up and down the court for 48 minutes. Now, that's labor. And think about it. They play back-to-back nights on a regular basis, Charlton, in the NBA. And think about a football game, Charlton. Go out there pounding against huge, hulking men for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And see how you fare on that. And they play football games a lot of times, Charlton, when we had that Sunday-Thursday matchup, 4 days apart.
Yeah.
So if football players can participate 4 days apart, I don't see why baseball players can't play 4 games over a 2 or 3 games day stretch, Charlton.
Yeah.
I think it would be advantageous for the fans, Charlton. It would get more to the ballpark because if you know you're going out and you're getting a doubleheader, Charlton.
Yeah.
If you're selling that ticket price for that doubleheader, Charlton, at 1.5 times the price of one game and they're getting 2 out of it, fans would appreciate that more. It's more economical.
Yep.
They're getting twice the fun for the money, Charlton.
Yeah, and you have butts in the seats, which is important. Out here in Oakland, they have an opening day, but it's not a sellout compared to down in San Diego and also in Los Angeles, where the stadiums have seemed to be pretty packed. I want to just, as I think about opening day, I don't know if POTUS threw out opening day pitch for anyone. President Trump today, he announced that he was backing off the budget request to eliminate funding for Special Olympics, reversing the course after his administration. Now, that a lot of criticism came toward POTUS and a lot of advocates for, celebrities. I just think if you think about that timing in Major League Baseball, I think if it were not for the media pushback and we were part of that pushback, it would have been drowned out by opening day Major League Baseball. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he wasn't expecting the backlash against his administration for this move, Charlton, financially to eliminate funding for the Special Olympics.
Yeah.
Funding for the Special Olympics, Charlton, is a rites of passage for these Americans, Charlton.
Yeah.
We're not talking about wasted funds. We're talking about the government pulling back from some of the neediest of its citizens. This is like taking away health care from citizens, Charlton, taking away funding for Special Olympics. You think about how much, this has brought, far as to these young people and older people, Charlton, that have participated in the Special Olympics. You think about the joy of victory and the agony of defeat. They experience all that, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's not just the great athletes we see on Saturday and Sunday that experience that. You think about these Special Olympians, Charlton. They're as competitive as any athlete that you've ever seen in the Sweet 16 playing this weekend, Charlton.
Yep.
They feel the same way when they go out and compete against others, Charlton, that are in the same situation that they're in. And for our government to even have the consideration, Charlton, of taking away the funding from these American citizens, thinking of them as third world people, Charlton. That's how the government looked at this.
Yeah.
And Trump was behind this because he asked his administration, Charlton, to do this. They're not doing anything. The Secretary of Education didn't do anything that had not flowed through the White House.
Yeah, Bessie Zavol.
She was the face of it because she was the Secretary of Education.
Yeah.
He saw all the backlash, Charlton, from politicians that are even in his own party, from media that was even in his own party, Charlton, from celebrities and advocacy groups, Charlton, that were even in his own party. And he said, well, he overrode his administration on this. Charlton, he was the final say-so in his administration. So what, he overrode himself? I mean, man can't even tell the truth about that, is that he wanted to take the money from Special Olympic funding and put it into a border wall.
That is just absolutely crazy. But people, some people he couldn't do no wrong. Now, when you think about, we still have, March Madness happening. Of course, Major League Baseball's, throwing the first pitch today. So I really, wish everybody well in pursuit of a World Series championship. But today, former Yale women's soccer coach Rudy Meredith admitted in federal court today of accepting hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes in exchange for helping high school students apply to the Ivy League schools. Under false pretenses, Ms. pleaded guilty to 2 charges of wire fraud, which carry a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison and substantial fines. Now, I know you can't do anything on a college entrance exam without them doing some type of background check. I'm a little bit cynical. I think because of the certain skin color of some of these people, they don't get a second look. They just get the first look and they get the nod and go right on through. I know that the FBI's gotten involved, but it's amazing that this has been going on so long, and that's why we're seeing how people have been comfortable doing it for more than 1 year. This is multiple years it's been going on, Big C. Your thoughts?
Charlton, this spans out over a decade of cheating that is constantly going on. Ever since Title IX was enacted, Charlton, people found a way to start skimming the system at that point and cheating and getting around it.
Yeah.
So you think about the inception of Title IX, Charlton, cheating started right after that. So this just didn't happen. The FBI has gotten very savvy on going after things, Charlton, and they didn't go after this scandal. They went after the guy for wire fraud. That's what he went after him for.
Yep.
Okay? And that's how they found out about this college cheating. Because of wire fraud. When you start moving more than $10,000, the FBI and the IRS starts paying attention, Charlton.
Yeah.
So you're moving this money and you're not being accountable for it. It's not showing up on your tax returns.
Yeah.
So people are figuring out you're doing something illicit. And that's what occurred. And I'm glad that the man pleaded guilty, Charlton. Because now this opens up the door to get everybody prosecuted that's been involved in it, Charlton.
Yeah.
It means celebrity status won't protect you in this scenario, Charlton, because the guy who was the first domino to fall, Charlton, and once that first domino falls, there's a lot of them that falls that you can't stop.
Yeah, that's a lot of it too. So we hopefully that kids are being, trying to be persuaded or dissuaded from going into college. Maybe they need an affirmative action, and all that means is they just needed the same opportunities that mainstream has gotten for many years. I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league, when you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. And also, when we talk about privilege, whether it's executive privilege or just good old boy network privilege, it's amazing how we have the Jesse, Smollett case where they threw out all the charges, and people are crying foul. But you look at the Mueller report, there have been 27 indictments, and the president says, see, there's no collusion. See, everybody that's worked for him has had something going on. Now one of his friends, today attorney New York, England's Patriots, Robert Kraft, filed a motion, his attorney filed a motion, to exclude video evidence of his solicitation of prostitution in a case that could be pivotal. Now, how do you have a motion filed to exclude a video? Videos don't lie normally, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the video is what will convict him. So if you don't have the video and you have a jury trial, now you're leaving it up to the pictures in the jury's mind. Well, there's no physical evidence that the man committed a crime. That's going to be the defense stance, Charlton.
Yeah.
We have no video. So you can't convict this man without physical evidence. Even though the video is graphic, Charlton, of this solicitation act taking place.
Yeah.
This is what the attorney wants to have squashed and suppressed from evidence. Now, how are you going to suppress the evidence on the reason that you caught somebody, Charlton?
Yeah.
And the attorney is trying to say that the police didn't have the authority or the FBI to set up video cameras in this massage parlor, Charlton. I thought that once you got a warrant to do these things, Charlton, that you could set up anything you want. Now, police can't just go in and say, okay, we're going to start setting up cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
They had to get a warrant from a federal judge, Charlton, to go in and put these cameras in because they know of human trafficking. That's what their case was.
Yeah.
Robert Kraft and 24 other prominent white men just happened to come into this place, not for massages, Charlton, but for sexual favors.
So
and pay for them.
Yeah.
They get caught on tape.
Yeah.
But this shows the egregiousness of the judicial system, Charlton. If a judge allows this to be squashed. Now, we know that this judge, Charlton, that if he's Republican, we know where the call is coming from.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's coming from White House.
Yeah.
That you got to suppress this. And that's the only reason, Charlton, that this evidence will get suppressed. Because if they suppress the evidence, Charlton, you have no trial.
Yep, that's true. And now, he wasn't the only man caught. If they suppress the evidence, I wonder if that will apply for all of the people they caught, or was it just be for the guy who has $1 billion?
You have to apply for everybody, Charlton. You just can't have one individual have his evidence be suppressed and the rest of the gentlemen not have their evidence suppressed, Charlton.
Yep.
Because now, as bad as that is, if you allow Kraft's evidence be suppressed and not allow the other gentlemen, Charlton, they can go for civil rights violations right there.
Yeah.
And sue the state, for unjust prosecution.
Yeah.
But I see Robert Kraft getting his wish, Charlton, that the evidence against him is suppressed. I mean, think about it. If you committed another crime, say you go out and you did a hit and run.
Yeah.
And the car was the evidence, Charlton. And you say, okay, we want the car suppressed and not put in the evidence or the photographs of the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that the jury can't draw a conclusion that it was our client.
Yep.
That's what they're saying about Robert Kraft. We don't want the video scene of Robert Kraft. We want to be able to bring a sketch artist in and draw images and say that may not be Robert Kraft in that image.
Wow.
We don't want you to see photographs.
So I wonder what would happen to the girls who were entrapped. And I said, this is for my white brethren, because they spend a lot of money building prisons and investing in prisons, and they're trying to put somebody in the prison because they get the free labor out of it, or they'll make 25 cents an hour or something that nefarious. And if you don't have people step in and help change the law, then it goes on. But we talk about criminal justice reform and trying to make it so that people are treated fairly. Here you have white guys committing crimes, and it's on tape. It's on tape. And now they're trying to say, well, you didn't hear what you heard, or you didn't see what you saw. How does that help the cause that we need criminal justice reform when oftentimes black men, the ones who don't know that they should ask for a speedy trial, and so the DA will come in and say, look, we got you red-handed. If you plead guilty, we're going to get 5 years on good behavior out in 2. But if you plead not guilty, you're looking at 10 to 15 years. And they don't know any better, so they don't ask for a speedy trial, Big C. Does that make any sense, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it makes all the sense in the world. You think about this. Think about how many black men are in prison now, Charlton, for allegedly selling narcotics or peddling on the street. So if the evidence could have been suppressed, so, okay, you're not allowed to bring in whatever you feel that you picked up on the sidewalk that they dropped or allegedly dropped. Or, you know, we've heard so many different and seen so many different scenarios on television shows, Charlton.
Yeah.
They said, well, you know, they threw this out of their pocket. So what? But it wasn't in his pocket at the time when you got it.
Right.
So you're alleging that it came out of his pocket.
Yeah.
So why can't black people, Charlton, or people of color, have evidence suppressed that is not in their physical possession, Charlton, when they're arrested?
Yeah.
When they walk into a house and break down a door, and they go in and arrest somebody, and they find stuff in a house, Charlton.
Yeah.
Why is that allowed to be put into evidence? And that person is not carrying it on their person. But since they're minorities, no, it was in the same facility that you were in, so it's yours.
Yeah.
And you're going to go to prison. Here's Robert Kraft, where everybody knows in the media in the public that there's video evidence of you doing this on back-to-back days, not one day.
Yeah.
The first day we figure you made a wrong turn.
Right.
The second day you put it in your GPS, okay,
Yeah.
and you went right back.
Are Bentley self-driving cars? I know a lot of cars have that self-driving technology.
Well,
maybe
but Charlton, I guarantee it would be in his GPS on his phone, or if not on the dash on his car.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you went back there voluntarily. The second day, we know that. We can say the first day was a mistake.
Yeah.
But the second day was a voluntary reflex that you had.
Yeah.
That you went back because it was that good to you. But you want to have it suppressed.
Yeah.
You think about anybody listening, and this is not being racist or biased or anything. Think about how many minority people are in prison in America today for circumstantial evidence.
That's right.
Not concrete, circumstantial evidence. And that's not even just minorities. That's every race in America.
Yeah.
Somebody knows somebody who is convicted on circumstantial evidence. Not concrete that they have against Robert Kraft.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to see the judicial system, the Department of Justice, say we're going to release everybody that's in prison or in jail that's in on circumstantial evidence.
Yeah. Because
the people that we have concrete evidence against, we won't even try them or let the evidence be submitted.
You know, when you think about that too, there are a lot of people in the base of Trump's base, and Bob Kraft, they're good friends, and they talk about wanting to return, Mexicans that come over here. They'll say they're illegally, so they came here illegally, they got to go back home. So they're really being punished for doing something illegal. But when rich white men do something illegal, they can pay off the DA to say, well, we can't admit the videotape because what? Because we don't want the truth? I just want people to wrestle with that around the world. Big C, on this date, Black History, in 1799, would you believe the state of New York, it abolished slavery? Now, there was an amendment made to it that anyone born after 1799 would not be considered slave. In New York, all slaves were remaining free if they were born after that date up until July 4th of 1827. I think that was a law that made it easier for African Americans to get out of that indentured servitude. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, slavery lasted too long in this country, and there's still a portion of slavery that still exists. Robert Kraft got caught up in it, Charlton, down in Florida.
That's true.
And people said, well, these women, had the right to leave. No, they didn't.
They don't.
They were slaves. They were slaves just like slaves back in the 1600s in America, in the 1700s in America.
Yeah.
They were forced to do things that they didn't want to do to survive. They were forced into this business, Charlton. Just like black slaves were, these Asian slaves are the same thing.
Yeah.
And there were rich white men, Charlton, that took advantage of the situation.
Isn't that something?
That these women could not say no to.
Yeah.
They didn't have the right or the ability to say no. So when you think about slavery being abolished in New York in 1799,
yeah,
and still existing in America in 2019, Charlton,
yep,
how far has this country come, really?
And that's a very good way to look at it, because people think that prostitution is where the women are volunteering to do it. They're not. A lot of them are trapped into it. And when you're a rich white male, and Kraft should know better, and he should say, you know what, he did the crime, do the time. Don't try to tell people that you get out of it because you have enough money. And that has no character, because there are a lot of women that is still happening to this day. And he could set an example to say, if you do wrong, you pay the price. Not, hey, I didn't do it, or you guys don't believe what you saw on tape. As a man that's been elevated at his position in life, he works. Think about this. A lot of athletes. There was one on his team that ended up taking his own life. He was a tight end out of the University of Miami, and his name is slipping me for some reason. But I remember Hernandez. He had a troubled history, and I think Kraft even stood up for him or stood by him. But we know the man didn't get the help that he maybe could have had. But he ended up going to jail for doing some crime. Okay? Now the guy he was signing his paycheck is trying to get out of doing you know what I'm saying? How's that make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, there's a double standard in America always, Charlton, when it comes down to this. The rich elite will always get favoritism, and that's what Robert Kraft is asking, is for favoritism. So, you think about the audacity of someone to go in and ask a judge to suppress the evidence in a trial. Why are you having a trial?
Yeah.
If the evidence is being suppressed, what are you trying at that point?
Yeah.
There's no basis of a trial.
Yeah.
If you suppress the evidence, and I don't care what it is, everybody in America will always look at the O.J. Simpson trial.
Yeah.
Okay? You can always use that as a flashpoint to make people say, O.J. Simpson, oh, yeah, he was guilty. They had the evidence. They had everything to prove he was guilty. Okay, you have the evidence on Robert Kraft to prove that he's guilty.
Yeah.
Will it be admitted? So let's look at the double standard. America, it was divided over O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
In his case, as horrific as it was. Here's Robert Kraft. May not be as horrific, Charlton, but it dealt with slavery.
Yeah.
It dealt with forcefulness. Bill Cosby is in prison today because he forced people to allegedly, I wasn't there, allegedly forced people to do what they didn't want to do. And so people called it rape, okay? They called it rape. So here's Robert Kraft. He's helping somebody force some young ladies to do what they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Okay? They just want to survive, so they have to do this to survive. And everybody is saying, well, it's Robert Kraft. He's a billionaire.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Gloria Allred once talking about she would be proud to go in and represent these young ladies that's been forced into sex slavery. Okay? Sex slavery.
Yeah.
This is what they were forced into.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're a sports show, but we're also a human rights show, Charlton.
It's reality.
Because humans have rights to know and rights to defend themselves. These young ladies could not defend themselves. They were no different than those alleged women that Bill Cosby drugged, Charlton.
Yeah.
And did what he wanted to them, allegedly.
Yeah.
Robert Kraft is in the same situation. He paid somebody to go in there and say, hey, this is the one that I want. And she had no choice, Charlton, but to do what he said.
Yep.
Even though she may have been conscious, Charlton, she was still unconscious because she had no rights to say no. She could not get up and leave.
Yep.
She was forced into this situation. So when we want to talk about fairness in society, look at Bill Cosby being put in prison for allegedly forcing women to do what they didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And Robert Kraft having the evidence suppressed of forcing women to do what they didn't want to do.
Yeah, and I heart just go out to young women. I know Gloria Alvarez not going to do anything that would put a white man behind bars because she has her own stereotypes about who deserves justice and not. Big C, I want to close out on some basketball. And you can think this day, the 28th of March, it was 1992. Duke beat Kentucky. It was Christian Laettner's shot. It was a last-second shot. And it's a game that exemplifies what March Madness is. And I wonder if we'll see that type of shot or that type of game. I think Zion Williamson had a shot similar to that when Duke also knocked off, University of Central Florida. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that shot that Christian Laettner made, Charlton, 28 years ago where the ball was heaved from out of court and he caught it at the top of the free throw line, Charlton, and pirouetted around and sunk the three to knock Kentucky out of the game, Charlton. I mean, it was one of the greatest basketball plays ever because it had to be a perfect pass, and there was two defenders.
Yep.
It took me back, Charlton, when he made that shot to the 1972 Olympics, Charlton, in Munich, when the Russians beat the United States for the first time in Olympic basketball history. It was the first loss to the American team that ever suffered.
And they
had three opportunities to get the ball in bounds.
Yeah.
And they threw the ball down court. The big Russian went up, Charlton, knocked down two American players and banked the ball in.
Yeah.
And I think, Christian Laettner went into his inner soul to pull that out and repeat the same type of feat, knocking down the mighty Kentucky Wildcats at that time, coached by Tubby Smith.
Yeah.
But, basketball is just one of those things, Charlton. You're always going to have errors. You're always going to have a shining moment. And that was one of those one shining moments in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I still remember where I was when that happened. And so many people, it's amazing that they still talk about it to this day. And when you think about some of the games, teams that can have a shining moment now, the tournament games tonight, you have number 4, Florida State. They're playing against, number 1 seed, Gonzaga. It still amazes me. Gonzaga, one of the smallest regions of the country as far as, basketball talent up there in the great Northwest, right around Spokane, Washington. But they're still able to recruit enough players that will skip going to Washington State, Oregon State, USC, UCLA, Cal, Stanford, and they'll go to Gonzaga. And they're up against Florida State. But just give me your thoughts on what that would mean to the great Northwest, your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, I think the thing that's missed about Gonzaga is that they're not out there trying to recruit the blue-chip players.
Yeah.
You don't hear the 5-star and the 4-star players going to Gonzaga, Charlton.
No.
Mark Few goes out and gets the 2- and 3-star players. And he gets those guys, Charlton, who have a hunger and a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
And the willingness to play together. Duke has 3 5-star players on their roster this year, Charlton. Those guys go out there and they have all the expectations in the world of them succeeding.
Yeah.
When you look at Gonzaga, Charlton, they want to be the giant beaters. They beat Duke early in the season, Charlton, when both teams are in full strength.
Yeah.
Something that, a lot of other teams could not do throughout the year. But the guys at Gonzaga, I praise Mark Few for the guys that he recruits.
Yeah.
Everybody always want to talk about the diaper dandies, the McDonald's All-Americans. They don't go to Gonzaga, Charlton.
No.
The guys who go to Gonzaga are the guys who are willing to be team players.
Yep.
That's what it takes to win a championship, Charlton, to have that cohesiveness. And, night after night, you don't know who the superstar is going to be in the Gonzaga uniform.
Yep.
The top player last game, Charlton, Hussein, only had 4 points in the game.
Yeah.
And yet they had another guy, Charlton, breaks the single-game scoring record for Gonzaga in the tournament, scoring 36.
Yep.
That was Smith. So when you think about what Gonzaga can do, it's next man up. No ego on board. We are a team.
Yeah, they're a team, and they play that way, and it's just great to see that. You also look at number 3 seed Purdue. They're up against number 2 seed Tennessee. I'm feeling this Tennessee team. No one knows who's going to win. Purdue's a dominant team also. But Tennessee, if you look at how their coach was suspended, they're already supposed to be out of it. And to be led by an African-American coach, I'm sure he may not get the benefit of all the calls. But it's great. That's a great story, Tennessee, no matter how it ends. Your thoughts?
Well, I like Purdue in this game. Purdue has some size, Charlton. And, up in the Big Ten, they play tremendous physical basketball. And you think about Tennessee being a number 2 team with Rick Barnes being the head coach, Charlton.
Yeah.
But Purdue is a number 3. And they snuck through the Big Ten. I thought between them and Michigan, they were the best 2 teams in the Big Ten, even though Michigan State won the conference championship.
Yeah.
I thought Purdue and Michigan were neck and neck as far as the best teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah, and that's true too, Big C. It's a very talented conference. Number 3 seed, Texas Tech versus number 2 Michigan, the team we just talked about. Texas Tech really the pride of the Southwest, and I wonder if they have a chance against the size of Michigan. Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at Texas Tech, Charlton, they're the best defensive team in the tournament.
Yeah.
They held opponents to the least amount of points of every team that's left over, other than Virginia, Charlton, in the tournament. When you look at Michigan, Charlton, this is a team that made the finals last year.
Yeah.
They went deeper than anybody ever thought that they would. They still have a formidable team, Charlton, that can get back there again this year.
Yeah.
And I see Michigan being too much offensively for Texas Tech, and with their size inside also.
When you think about the West Coast, it's the Northwest where it rains the most, Big C. Lots of thunder and lightning and rain up in the Northwest in Washington and Oregon. Number 12 seed Oregon. They're the Pac-12 champion because they knocked off Washington, which was the top-ranked team in the Pac-12, and they were blown out by North Carolina. But Oregon facing Virginia. If there's an upset in any of these games, it would be Oregon knocking off Virginia because they're playing much better basketball than people thought they would play. Even though Virginia should win, I wouldn't be surprised if they fell. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, one thing Virginia's done, Charlton, in this tournament is up their offensive output. They've always been a tremendous defensive team, but now they're knocking it down, Charlton. They're putting points. They're scoring over 76 points a game in the tournament, which is not like Virginia offensively.
Yeah.
So I think they may have a little bit too much tonight, Charlton, for this Oregon team. When they lost Bowl early in the season, Charlton, that really hampered Oregon, and I don't think that they have enough inside strength to keep Virginia off the boards tonight.
Yeah, especially those Cavaliers. They like to hunt ducks, so they might go duck hunting too in this game, Big C. ACC has 5 teams remaining in the Sweet 16. Does that make them the best conference in college basketball? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, seemingly how the tournament is broken out, Charlton, they are the best conference in college basketball. And they did have 3 number 1 seeds, Charlton, when this tournament started. More than anybody else. Only Gonzaga out of the West Coast, Charlton, was the other number 1 seed. So when you look at where the ACC is, Charlton, everything is set up for them to be in the Final Four.
Yeah, and it's obviously when you get down to being able to prove it on the court, the best teams will win out, irrespective of getting a good call here or there. Big C, I want to close out on tonight's Big C Sports on a beautiful opening day of Major League Baseball. I want to pay homage to some NBA basketball and some good games tonight. We have Orlando at Detroit, but there's a big game already underway, Brooklyn at Philadelphia, and then Dallas at Miami. Give me your thoughts. Brooklyn, if they went into Philly and won, I would not be surprised, but I'm still pulling for Philly. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Brooklyn is fighting tooth and nail because they know that every game with them matters, and they need to keep the momentum going into the playoffs and try to get as high a seed as they can.
Yeah.
Philly has been an up-and-down team here the last couple of weeks, Charlton. They have lost some games that they should have won. But, they need to establish who is going to be their go-to guy going into the playoffs.
Yep, and a couple of other games that have playoff implications. We have Toronto, at New York. Obviously, Toronto should get that win. Dallas at Miami, going to pull for Miami. They're still an outside looking for that number 8 spot from Miami. Great to see Dwayne Wade still in the hunt for the playoffs. Denver at Houston. I would say it's the game of the night. Denver's just a half game behind Golden State. And, Houston never wants to see anything that will help Golden State. They've been the team that knocked them out lately. But Houston needs to get this win also because they're not that far from taking over a number 2 seed if they can make a strong run down the stretch. I think Denver's in trouble down in Texas, Big C, especially with Texas Justice and the guy named Harden. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, there's always Texas Justice, but, do you have an inside answer for Jokic? Denver has such a well-balanced team, Charlton, and we've seen Harden go cold the past couple of games, Charlton, here, especially up in Milwaukee the other night.
Yeah.
His shot was just completely off.
Yeah.
So, and you wonder about the attrition that he went through when Chris Paul was out, Charlton, and Capella. When he had to shoulder so much of the load, Charlton, he was having those consecutive 30-point outings.
Yeah.
How much will he have left for the playoff run, Charlton?
Very good point, Big C. Cleveland at San Antonio, Sacramento at New Orleans. Final NBA game, the L.A. Clippers, led by Doc Rivers, and the no-names. I guess you could call the no-names, Big C, because no one would expect them to be where they are. They're at Milwaukee. That's Giannis territory. Any chance for Doc Rivers to go in there and do some more magic up in Milwaukee, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it'd be very difficult to go to Milwaukee and get a win. You know, right now Milwaukee is playing tremendous basketball, Charlton, trying to hold on to that number one seed in the East so they can get an easy game in the first round, Charlton.
Yep.
I don't see the Clippers going in knocking them off at home.
Well, we know it's all fair in love and war, and we look forward to more Major League Baseball. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always say to Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in this sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I'm going to go home. I'm going to go into the kitchen. I'm going to get out this big cast iron skillet. I'm going to melt me a little butter in there, and I'm going to put me some popcorn kernels in there. Then I'm going to melt me some more butter, Charlton, after the popcorn is popped and drizzled over there, just for fat fun, you know. Then I'm going to sit down in my recliner.
Yep.
I know that the NCAA tournament is playing tonight, Charlton.
Yeah.
I know that Major League Baseball's opening season is tonight.
Yep.
And if my hands get too slippy, Charlton, I might just slide onto a hockey game just for fun.
Yeah. Well, no matter what happens, Big C, you'll have as many hits as Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, and you can do every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C, and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to call 911 and deal with that garbage on their own. As we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.